Well, I will call this meeting to order. Excellent. I know Sarah Brent's going to be joining us, but what we can do first is go through some of our business. Actually, so as I say this, actually, the first item is the housing production plan because the other items are executive session meeting minutes, which we'll approve in the executive session later. So as I say that, um,
Actually, Doug, if we're approving and retaining, you can do that in open session.
okay. So I guess, yeah, if you want to do that, we could definitely do that. So we have two sets of meeting minutes. We have the April 25th, 2025 executive session meeting minutes and the May 15th executive meeting minutes. So I guess the first comment would be, are there any questions on those? I'm going to open those up too, just in case there are.
I'll abstain since I believe I missed the meetings.
Yep, Jesse, you were absent on the 25th, April 25th. And okay. I guess first, any comments or questions on the one on the 24th? Or sorry, the April 25th?
Nope.
Okay, hearing none, do I have a motion?
So moved.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second?
All right, all in favor, Al?
Aye.
Paul?
Yeah, this is to approve and retain, correct?
Yeah, approve and retain, yep.
Yes, aye.
Ellen?
Aye.
Jesse?
Abstain?
Okay. And Doug is aye. Okay, great. Next is the executive session meeting minutes on May 15th. Do I have a motion to approve and retain?
So moved.
Okay, second? All right, all in favor? Oh, sorry, great. Thank you, Ellen. All right, all in favor, Al?
Aye.
Paul?
Aye.
Ellen?
Aye.
Jesse?
Abstain?
Okay, great. And I am I. Okay, great. All right. I do not see Sarah Brent yet in the waiting room. I mean, the housing production plan is the main item. Maybe just go through logistics. So we do have a joint meeting on Monday, 6:30. This is in person at the planning board meeting. And it'll be joint with the select board as well as the planning board. And I did send to Andrew Dennington the copy of the housing production plan. So Sarah Brent had sent that along. So they have that. And Andrew did respond that he was going to distribute to the select board. And then Jesse, I believe you have forwarded it to the planning board, correct?
That is right. Yep.
Awesome. So I think everyone has it. So I think we're all set for that. And again, that's in the McAuliffe hearing room in the town meeting house on Monday at 6:30. Or at least, I mean, it is in person, but I think they also have the virtual option too as well. I am planning on attending in person.
I'll be there as well.
Excellent.
So will I. I get 2 votes.
And maybe while we're just waiting for logistics, I'll find it. Trying to find when our next meeting is going to be. Just to confirm that works for everyone in August. If it does, I need to find it.
Can I ask a question, Doug?
Yep, please.
Just consensus on this committee? I mean, has everybody had, seems like everybody's been participating pretty well and regularly. Does the committee support and recommend acceptance of the housing production plan?
Yeah.
So Jess, I can tell you, I have reviewed it. I think it's really well done at this point. I think she's incorporated all of our comments. I'm generally in favor of it, in support of it. Obviously open to other communities' thoughts. I mean, there might be some nuances people are thinking about, but in general, I mean, we've achieved, and thank you, Ellen and Jesse, for getting this done so quickly. And obviously credit to Sarah Brent as well, but those are my thoughts. I'm generally in favor.
I agree.
Me too.
Me too.
Okay, great, thank you.
And Jesse,
Yeah,
you're,
me too, by the way.
I was
Yeah, sorry. Yes, I do as well.
All right. I definitely need to get better organized. I'm trying to find the email I sent to you guys with all the potential dates. Can anyone pull up easily just remember I sent around a list of dates for the rest of the year for calendar dates. I'm trying to find it, but
Yeah, I'm trying to find it as well.
it's eluding me for some reason. It was probably the 14th or the 28th of August, but again, I can't find it.
So you had, we had a meeting, and I could forward this to you, Doug, now, actually. But to answer the question, it's Thursday, August 14th, 6:30 p.m.,
Excellent.
followed by Thursday, September 11th, 6:30 p.m.
Okay. So does the 14th date still work for everyone?
I'll be late, but able to catch, I'll be able to log in at like 7-ish.
Okay.
I would actually, if it works for everyone, wouldn't mind starting at 7.
Yeah, I mean,
That works for me.
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay. All right. I'll make it 7 p.m. That's great.
Allows for a slightly more leisurely dinner, or perhaps
Yeah.
dinner at all.
dinner, yeah.
Office. I'm in the office on Thursday, so I came home a little after 6 and gave everyone a hug.
And then
They make
Jesse, the
peanut
next
butter and jelly for, isn't it?
yeah.
There you go.
It was
And Jesse was the 18th.
Thursday. It was going to be Thursday, September 11th.
Oh, okay.
And then if you're interested, Thursday, October 9th. It was forward, so.
Okay. And then for the 11th, do people want to do 7 p.m. again? Is that better time? I mean,
Yeah.
I'm indifferent between 6:30 and 7.
Okay with me.
7 would be good.
I prefer 7, yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, great. Ellen, do you have Sarah Brent's cell phone? Do you want to text? Do you have the ability to text her or maybe shoot her an email? Just checking in.
Yeah, I just tried to send an email and it bounced back. So let me see if I have her
Okay.
number.
As you're looking, I guess, and I think we talked about this last time. So I think are we going to vote on Monday? Is that the intent procedurally? I mean, obviously we could vote tonight, but is the goal to really vote jointly with the other boards all in the same room on the same night, or should we vote
Yeah,
tonight?
that's why I didn't bother making a motion because.
Yep. Okay.
Yeah.
And maybe while waiting to see if Sarah Brent joins, I can tell you I did review it again. To be honest, I didn't have any comments. I thought it was, again, like I said, really well done. So I thought it definitely was good for prime time on Monday. Again, very well written. I didn't find any grammatical or, odd things either. I definitely felt like she caught all of the updates that we talked about last time. Um, but obviously open to other members, and obviously if Sarah Brent joins, if we need to make any modifications, we definitely can. If
What,
good.
one item is, we had talked about a bylaw change in our zoning bylaw to permit or to remove the restriction on, or the unit restriction on senior housing or age restricted housing, however you want to call it. And that would require, there is a special town meeting in November where that could be on the agenda. It's the sort of thing that ought to be on that agenda. And I think one of the things we ought to be on record as saying is whether, we ought to take a vote as to whether we would recommend that the town do so. We can either do it, on Monday, or we could do it today.
So if I could make a suggestion, Al, I
Sure,
think we
yeah.
would, well, actually, I don't, was that on the agenda today? I don't know how open meeting law works with that.
Well, if we're talking about the housing production plan, and it's.
Oh, right.
Housing production plan.
Yeah.
Give me a loophole and I can drive a truck through it.
Yep.
So what, go ahead, Jesse.
That's an interesting point. So Al, it might even be more, it might be a good idea to bring that up on Monday.
Oh, I think we should, by all means.
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
with you.
I mean, that seems to me the one clearly actionable thing that we might actually accomplish. There's other useful information in the housing production plan, but that's something we could actually do.
Yep. Well, it also
Should do.
shows again how popular it's already been, because we're 5 units away from the cap. And again, I think we put in very specific examples in the housing production plan of, 55 plus communities that have been built, and I think have been well received in town. So I agree. I think it'd be great to bring up on Monday.
Yeah.
And I can add it to the agenda for the August meeting too, so it's already on that as a specific item. The other thing too, and Jesse, I'm sure all of you saw it, but Mark Purple did send around the email. If anything is going to be on the fall town meeting, that he would want it by, I think, early September. So that's just something else too, which we can discuss more with the planning board and the select board on Monday, but seems like a pretty easy element to write up. But I guess the question, Jesse, for that, is that something that this board can do? Is that something the planning board does, or who actually can recommend that and put that in motion?
Well, I believe it's a zoning change, so that's a good question as to whether or not the planning board has
So
I think they might be able to be, asked nicely to do it, but
Yep.
What do you think, Al?
Yeah, my understanding of the process is like any other bylaw, any person or board can bring a bylaw forward. However, zoning changes do require that the planning board actually hold a hearing on them. It is a formal hearing. And then, of course, a zoning change requires 2/3 at town meeting. I think this is relatively uncontroversial, but I've been wrong about that before. I think this is something, where, we have an aging population in town, and we have people who would like to stay in town, but frankly, are in homes which are like mine, which are really much bigger than we need. And, that would make room for other people in town, whether you live in an expensive house or a less expensive house.
I guess I have a quick question for the board. So right now, I think it's capped at 7% of the housing stock. And so is it our collective thought to simply remove the cap altogether, or to raise the cap? I know we talked a little bit about this last time, but just more, because I'm sure when we talk about this on Monday, this will probably come up, but I'm just curious what folks' thoughts are.
So this is where it starts getting kind of into the nitty gritty. And I'm thinking that the planning board chair would probably want to have like a subsequent discussion as a
Mhm.
separate agenda item,
Okay.
which I think is worthwhile.
Agreed.
If that comes about, I wonder if this committee wants to meet before that happens, sooner than August, because there's only so much time if we're actually targeting November.
Yeah. Well,
And
so
like Al said, they do have to have the public hearing, at least one. I think they usually want to have a bunch of them before the.
Yeah.
so
and
just
there's some
more
other
from go ahead, sir.
zoning, there are other zoning changes that I think are coming down the pike as well. And for this meeting. So I think what we do is let's have the discussion on Monday, and then we can probably formulate, our plan from there. But we would probably want to have Jesse, do you know what the planning board's meeting schedule looks like over the next
Well, that's it. So we're in the summer. I think they do scale back to like once a month. But I mean, if there's a reason, they might, call a meeting, an extra meeting in August. They won't be thrilled, or late July. I'm thinking, like if we're meeting on the 14th, that means that the very soonest they would be willing or would meet again is July 28th. And what I think we would do if we get a little traction, here's my thought anyway, is suggest another joint meeting and
Yeah.
post it. Like I would do that. I would go
Yeah.
to that
Yep.
that makes sense.
and try to get on their agenda on the earlier side so that we're not,
Yeah.
doing this at 11 o'clock at night.
Agreed.
That makes sense to me.
I agree, and I think it's good, sorry, to, yeah, have a couple next steps, about kind of the plan as a whole after we share it with them about what happens, after, they take a vote and we take a vote, what happens with the state process, but also what we hope to happen to actually move some of these things forward. So that includes scheduling that meeting, I think highlighting some of the next steps that are in here around what we think would move forward sooner rather than later, what kind of needs that collaboration with planning and select board. So I think that's kind of a good way to like keep the momentum going on this.
Ellen, I don't have Sarah Brent's phone number. Do you by any chance?
I don't either. I just texted Nels to
Oh
see.
yeah, good. Okay.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah. So we'll see.
Well, maybe we could talk about that now, Ellen. I mean, just what the next steps might be, since, I mean, the production plan is on the agenda, so that seems like fair game. But
Yeah, and I think, oh, sorry, go ahead.
the one that leaps to mind to me was, and we may already be doing this, was identifying, what is it, the 61A parcels in town? That we may, like that one in Upper Road kind of came out of the blue, but it'd be good if we knew where they are. So, and I don't know if we could be proactive about it in terms of trying to acquire something.
Yeah, and I think some of these strategies could kind of have implementation steps that support each other. So I think something like identifying 61A, some of the things we recommend about kind of tracking progress are all things that might benefit from either outside staff support or like outside technical assistance for the trust. And so maybe that is one step that we would look into.
Yep.
To kind of move forward on several of these strategies.
Yeah, I definitely think, and we talked about this before, Ellen, I agree. I think definitely applying for outside technical assistance or state funds I definitely think should be a priority, for this. Again, Shopsy had it for a period of time, and honestly, it was, I think, would be really helpful for us, right? Just to have some part-time staff help. Um, I don't recall because the outside technical assistance was already in place when I joined Shopsy. So Jesse, I don't know, do you recall who assisted Shopsy with applying to getting those outside technical assistant funds? Did we
Yeah,
did we have
I
staff
remember.
help?
Yeah,
Do we
yeah. I
have
see her face in my brain. What was her name? Because Dorianne was working with this person, but she's now employed full time in another municipality.
yeah,
So Shopsy had like a administrative person
yeah,
that was working on part time, but she's
yeah.
out of the not available at this point.
Jesse, do you know, like, did Shopsy apply for those funds directly, or did they, before this person came on board, did they get help from Southborough staff to actually apply for the application and the funds? Do you recall?
Well, the person I'm thinking of was in the planning department,
Ah,
scaled back to a part time, and then scaled back to consultant, just doing. So I didn't have to think about it. So I don't really remember the nuts and bolts of how that like happened.
is that like a Mark Purple discussion?
Yeah.
Well, I was thinking just as we're talking through this, Al was able to get us help with the housing production plan,
Yeah.
and it would be
I
sort of
I think
administratively similar.
I think Mark and Melanie and Vanessa might what we can do is ask them to come to one of them to come to one of our meetings and sort of talk to us about what's available. Or I'll pin them down because I'm going to be in town hall on a pretty regular basis, and yeah, I'll take that action item.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd like to if we're going to use professional services, I'd like to find an external source to pay for them.
Yep.
We have a very limited set of resources that we're supposed to be applying to actually generating housing for people. And I don't want to spend a lot of that money generating work for consultants unless it's absolutely necessary. Sorry, I'm a fiscal conservative, so
No, I agree. I think the good news is that, I mean, again, I think through the one-stop application, and Ellen, you might be more familiar with this, but there are definitely funds out there through the state. And I think, we might have a good case. We just updated the housing production plan. We've approved a recent Chapter 40B, right? You know, this might be also a way of saying, hey, we want to try to become a housing choice community, given it looks like we may already comply with it, just given recent efforts, but could be a good opportunity for us to, put a application in to see if we can get funds from the state to, get a part-time support person. Because there is a lot of, goals and thoughts out of the housing production plan. I think we're going to need some staff help with to keep us moving and organized. That's my personal thought, at least.
yeah. Now I think the one stop for this year, I think is done, but there may be let me talk to Vanessa and Mark and find out what they know, and I can send you guys a note on the subject. On a slightly separate subject, and I have an ulterior motive that we discuss in this forum yet. Would this board consider doing a 40B? I think we have the authority to do so. Might be a small one.
What do you mean, like a development?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm completely interested in that. That's the wrong word, but I'm very interested in that.
Okay.
I feel like I would be interested in that in a partnership capacity. That I feel like that's one of the pieces we've talked a little bit about, is kind of seeing how we can leverage the money that we do have to, support more development than we're able to do on our own. And so I love the step of, getting more directly into production. But I think would like to do it with people who do this
Oh,
all the
absolutely.
time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we need help, but we might be the actual applicant. So, we might, for example, be able to acquire a property that would have the potential to build a second unit on. And but would not, if you built the second unit, it wouldn't comply with zoning. But 40B is a way of skirting that. And
That's your
so,
truck through a loophole strategy again?
well, it's not really a loophole. I mean, the state has said they want us to build affordable housing, and they've given us this tool. And if 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 this board has,
Hmm.
what I've seen is, once in a while you might find a parcel that's big enough for two houses, but isn't zoned big enough for two houses. And, that that does give you some leverage. Okay, stay tuned and
Would the
it-
nonprofit developers
yeah,
be a source there?
yeah, we could do a Habitat or some other organization that to produce the second unit. And provided, with a 40B, you get, a certain amount of leeway with respect to zoning. And Jesse, I'm sure, knows more about this than I do, but are we
I
crazy,
don't think you
Jesse?
want to hear what I have to say.
Oh, no, yeah, no,
I'm
actually, I
not,
do.
not in support, would not participate in that whatsoever.
Why
I
not?
hear, I appreciate you bringing me into the conversation. Thank you.
Why not, Jesse?
I feel like we can work with the zoning in place. It's my opinion. It's a free country.
It is.
Agree to disagree.
Yeah, I can tell you, I do know that other towns have used friendly 40Bs, right? Where they, if a nonprofit comes in and there's support in the town, um, sometimes it actually still might even be compliant with zoning, already, but sometimes that's that has been done. So do know it's a tool. And then more just for general background for everyone on the call, I do have two other just standing agenda items. One of them is discussion of potential strategies for affordable housing, which this would fall under. The other is discussion of potential parcels of acquisitions, just more so you guys know in the background. We've always kind of had these on the agenda because again, I think we've all agreed we're very much in a strategy discussion stage in these earlier meetings too. So I think these types of items are definitely, given the agenda does state them, we're definitely feel free to talk about them. I think for Jesse's point, if we start getting more specific on a lot more detail on certain items, we might want to just post that individually, but I just wanted to point that. Um, so,
Well,
again, I'm open to the discussions. I do agree with Jesse a bit that, you know, just like we said in the housing production plan, a lot of changes already happened in the town in terms of MBTA Communities Act and a few other things. And so if we can work within existing zoning, it's probably better for us earlier on. But I definitely think it's a tool that's out there and, should be discussed or considered as we go forward still though, as well. So I might suggest, because it might be that Sarah Brent's not joining us this evening, but were there any specific comments? Because I think what we can do is give them to Ellen, Also, it is an editable PDF, right? So I think, or there's an editable file too as well. People can put them in. But I'm just curious, did other folks have more substantive comments that might want to discuss as a committee before we go into Monday?
I didn't. I felt like, yeah, this was a good reflection of everything we've talked about. Incorporating all of our edits and our kind of additional context in a lot of places. And yeah, I feel like I'm happy with where it is. Yeah, I'm looking forward to discussing it with the boards.
I support acceptance as the plan is written.
Okay.
I'm good.
I'm good too.
I'm good. Okay, great. And then, so I think we could do is move on from that item, and I guess then maybe more talk about Monday. Um, how do we want to approach Monday, right? So obviously it'll be a joint meeting. I think this will be the first joint meeting this new board has had with other groups. Obviously I can open the meeting. I can say a few words, but Ellen or Jesse, I'm happy to turn over to you guys to really kind of maybe present an overview if you want, or to describe it at a high level. Everyone will have it at that point. I can kind of set the table, but I think I would turn it over to one of you and I'll defer to you guys, who would like to speak about it in a little bit more detail. Um, thoughts?
I'm happy to do it with you, Jesse. With yeah,
Ellen, please take it away.
sure. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, great. I mean, I think that makes sense, right? And then Ellen, I think we can open it up to them for questions from both boards. You know, Jesse, I know we're all showing up at 6:30, but the likelihood that I'm assuming, will this be the first topic that will be brought up or after some administrative items, or what do you think? I'm
Wow,
just
that's
more
good.
curious,
So I haven't
like,
checked the planning board agenda. Good
yeah,
question.
yeah.
Let's pull that up.
I'm just wondering how long I should lock in for before we're on.
We'll be going on at 10:30 p.m.
It's how long we're gonna have to wait, I guess. I've been at a few planning board meetings, and you guys are you
I am
very
no longer
gracious.
on the board, Mr. Bates. Let's be clear about that. All right. I'm pulling it up. One moment, please.
While Jesse's doing that, so like you said, Doug, everyone will have a copy of the report at that point. Would it be helpful to pull out a couple of these slides to put up and talk through, just like to touch on the highlights? It's, we know it's too long to go through
Yep.
slide by slide, and I don't think that's our goal at all. But to touch a little bit on kind of each section and focus really on the strategies and the next steps. Do you think that would be helpful to put together like a short slideshow for this?
I think so, and I think maybe a couple slides or key speaking points on. I mean, well, first might be just we have to do this, right? It's a requirement, right? The housing production plan. And I think definitely, I think a couple of just more of, there continues to be real need, right? But very summarized. Um, and then I agree, maybe pointing out a few key things. I do like the theme as you get into, South, like we already said, Southborough already has a lot of tools in the toolbox, right? That we've just done, and to really rely upon those. So, but I do agree. I think kind of a summarized, kind of highlight key speaking points, I think is the way to go.
Yeah.
And then I think we'll see where it goes. But the good news, I would say, I mean, and credit to this committee too as well, but for all of us deciding to pick Sarah Brent and community scale, because I do feel like they've created something that is very easy to digest and follow and relate to. Um, so so hopefully it does give some good discussion, but it wasn't too dense. So I think so. Hopefully this should be hopefully we get some really good questions or discussion, and and get it approved on Monday.
So I'm looking at the planning board agenda. So between at 6:30, they've slotted in 1, 2, 3, 4 discussions. So 3 other discussions other than ours, plus an A&R. No, 4 other discussions. I don't see how they're actually going to get all that done by 7:00 when the first public hearing starts for them. The good news is we're at the top of the list.
There we go.
Okay.
So our agenda item is the very first one at 6:30. That would be my interpretation of it.
Okay, awesome.
I would recommend that we be concise and to the point, given this agenda is really stacked up. So
Yeah, I think a couple of key slides, and then, if if sort of the big ask right now is to remove the limits on over 55 housing, that we, we say, we know our time is limited, but we'd like to engage further on this, at either a special meeting or the next meeting, just so we get on the agenda for that going forward. Does that make
Yeah.
sense?
It does. I think, Ellen, how do you feel about reaching out to Sarah Brent and sort of asking, like, we kind of limit the presentation to like 5 minutes? We'll actually have, I feel like a better outcome if we're really, efficient.
Yeah, and so that was going to be my question too, is do we, I know Sarah Brent and I think Nels as well, we're planning to attend. Do we want the presentation to come from them, or should it come from us and they're there to help answer questions?
It should come from us, I think.
I like that too. It's great that they're both going to be there, because I do think some people could get into the weeds, right, on some of, just the housing demand and, that section. But I would agree. I think, Alan, it should be really, I think you providing the quick 5-minute overview, and their support, but that's at least my thought.
That sounds great.
Sure.
What if we create a new slide with just bullet points on each of the production strategies that they recommend? There's like 5 or 6 of them, I think. Because some of them at least track well with things that I know the town is already pursuing, like the wastewater capacity along Route 9. Seems to me the more that we can sort of express support for things the town's already doing, the better.
Agreed. Yeah, I think that's a good plan. Yeah, to consolidate this into just a few slides, noting that all of this is the same information that's in a lot more detail in the plan itself. But just going through them at a high level and then focusing, like you said, Al, on the ones, particularly on the 55 cap, where we want to take next steps.
Yep.
As the 3 boards.
Okay, great. All right, well, I think we've covered that. If that's the case, I might suggest or entertain a motion to enter into executive session, because I think that's the next item on the agenda, unless anybody else has anything else for the regular session.
Yeah, I had a question following up from our last meeting on the 40R discussion. Which, I know there was some significant pushback from folks in the railroad station about doing it there, but is there any reason you can't do a 40R project somewhere else?
I mean, I think 40R, from my understanding, is simply like, I mean, again, it's like a friendly 40B, right? It doesn't need to be near a train station. And 40R, I think, also allows you access on a per unit basis to a certain amount of state grants or dollars. So Paul, in some ways, I don't think it's focused on transportation only. Right? I think it could possibly be like, for example, on Route 9. So, and again, 40R in some ways is a friendly 40B, but I got to go. I'm remembering, because this is from memory, but I do remember that you get I forget what it was, but it was like 20,000, it might be more, but it was like a certain amount of dollars per unit. The state was trying to incentivize towns and cities to develop more housing, right? So it was a way to offset, impact on the infrastructure or town services. That's at least my memory, but we'd have to probably confirm that. But so Mark Davis' suggestion doesn't have to just necessarily be at a T station. It could be somewhere else.
Okay.
Yeah, that's my understanding as well, is that it can be in different locations. And so I think that's something we can think about, is if we like the idea potentially of understanding more about that type of zone. Then if we get some technical assistance or consultants, that could be something that they help us with, is understanding where in town that might make sense.
Yep.
And just one other thing before executive session, just wanted to mention that the CPA application cycle is open again through the end of the summer. Just wanted to bring that up. It doesn't seem like we would be applying again, but wanted to make sure that everyone was aware of that and have that discussion.
Yeah, given that, I know that the select board has a question about whether we should continue to participate in the CPA. But that would not necessarily, but though there are still funds left in that housing bucket.
Yep.
I believe it's on the order of, it's probably sneaking up on $100,000 in the next year. And I guess we ought to really demonstrate that we can do something with the money we've got.
Yeah, that was my sense, but just wanted to, yeah, keep that on our radar.
Yeah.
No, yeah, I agree. I think it'd be great for us to execute on what we have, and then, maybe in a year or so, if we actually started to use it, I don't have any issue going back, but I do agree, probably, focus on it. But Ellen, definitely appreciate giving us a heads up that it's open.
I think there might be a push to shorten that cycle a bit.
It's always the challenge.
Yeah, well, I mean, right now that cycle is on the order of a year and a half. I think the fastest you could go is probably 10 months, and you could easily go longer than that. So it's slow by government standards.
All right. Great. So do I have a motion to go to executive session?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second, although I think we have to say why.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, I can read. Yeah, I can read it. So the board will be entering into executive session per MGL Chapter 38, Section 21, and not returning to open session to discuss potential property acquisition, exemption number 6, as the chair has determined that an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the town's position. So I have a motion by Al, a second by Paul. All in favor? Al?
Aye.
Paul?
I,
Ellen? And Jesse?
Aye.
And Doug is aye. All right, so Sam Stivers did drop off, but I need to do this again. I'm gonna have to lock the meeting, so give me a second here. All right, I'm locking the webinar, and I'm gonna stop the recording as well.